Ag Bioscience, the #1 ag tech podcast globally, is now available on video. Hear from leaders and innovators across food, animal health, plant science, ag tech, and agriculture. Mondays at 6 a.m. on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, subscribe and leave us a review. It's the Ag Bioscience Podcast with Agronovis Indiana. Get more information at agronovisindiana.com.
The internet changed how we work. AI is changing what work gets done. A bank cut loan processing from days to hours. A student built an AI scheduler, improving on-time delivery from under 70% to over 90%. Most teams know AI matters, but aren't sure where to start. InAI is Indiana's statewide AI adoption effort, built with industry, academia, and community partners, helping you move from understanding to action. Visit inaiready.com.
This is the IBJ podcast for the week of July 6th, 2026, brought to you by Taft. I'm your host, Mason King. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Larry Smith grew up on the east side of Indianapolis. After graduating from Southport High School and then Williams College, he landed at Fortune 500 engine maker Cummins Inc. and quickly found himself on the fast track to upper management. By his early 30s, he already was director of corporate strategy, but he felt a strong calling to a different path. Smith switched gears and started a distinguished career in the Indy area's nonprofit sector, holding leadership positions with such organizations as Lilly Family School of Philanthropy at Indiana University, YMCA of Greater Indianapolis, Indiana University's Randall Tobias Center for Leadership Excellence, and the Hamilton County Community Foundation. Then in 2022, he received another calling, this one through actual phone calls and text messages, to take over as president and CEO of Fathers and Family Center, a modest Indianapolis nonprofit that provides counseling and other resources to help men become better fathers and stabilize their families. The mission harmonized with Smith's lived experience, since he grew up without a father and himself became a father when he was 16. In this week's podcast, Smith lays out his plans to continue growing the capacity of the center with hopes of doubling the number of men served by its programs. And to that end, the center is in the final stages of a $5.5 million fundraising campaign and preparing to move into a new headquarters near the Children's Museum. Smith also explains his strategy for doubling revenue within 5 years or so, including a new emphasis on individual contributions. Here's our conversation. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Larry Smith, CEO of the Indianapolis-based Fathers and Family Center. Larry, thanks for making the trip to our studio in what may be the hottest day of the year.
Yes, indeed. Great to be here. Really, really appreciate the opportunity.
Now, you're from Indianapolis, right?
Born and raised.
Okay. And you grew up here?
Grew up here, yes.
Okay. I know that you ran track in college.
Mm-hmm.
Did you run track in high school?
I did. So in high school, Southport, football, wrestling, and track. I was an okay football player. I was a good wrestler, but track was really my primary sport.
And what did you run? What were your events?
100, 200, 400, and sometimes long jump. But we had a lot of long jumpers, so yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you're okay with the heat. I mean, you did the thing where you, over the summers, you would have to work out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and football.
Two-a-days in
You
football.
did two-a-days?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Not fun. Necessary, but yeah. Not fun.
In the 80s, which were, in my memory, very hot.
Yes.
Okay. So you went to Williams College.
I did.
Right? Located in the Berkshire Hills.
Berkshire Mountains, Williamstown, Massachusetts. So the northwest corner of the state.
Right. One of the most beautiful places.
Oh, absolutely.
In the United States. I spent some time in Lenox.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, you're very close. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was great. And you were an All-American and track.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little shy of making the Olympic trials in 1992 in the 400 meters.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
So, and you graduated with a bachelor's degree in history.
In history, correct.
Is that correct? So what was the plan?
Plan was to get a job. I was a father in high school. So I became a dad shortly before I turned 17. And so my oldest is now 30. I'm 56. My oldest is now 39.
Oh, my goodness.
And so the idea was to get back to Indianapolis to get a job to take care of my then 5-year-old daughter.
Okay. And you were successful.
I was successful. I started working for Cummins, at the time, Cummins Engine Company, and now Cummins Inc. Great company. Learned a great deal.
Right. Fortune 500 company. Based in Columbus. Were you working from Columbus?
I was working from Columbus, Indiana, one of the architectural meccas of the country. Most people, unless you've been there or understand that history, you probably don't know that.
Yeah, it's an incredible town. I mean, if anyone's looking for a place to go this summer, for an
hour drive,
a good walk.
Yeah.
It's a modern architecture capital of the United States. Maybe beyond like New York and Chicago.
Oh, absolutely. IMP, Frank Lloyd Wright. People come from miles and miles around to see the jail, the library. That's Mr. Miller, J. Owen Miller, the late great CEO and chairman of Cummins. Yeah.
I don't know the job you had when you started, but by 2003, you were the director of corporate strategy.
Yeah.
Do I have that correct?
That's correct.
So you're negotiating millions of dollars in supplier contracts. You develop new business opportunities. You worked on strategies that significantly increase company revenue. Cummins paid for you to get an MBA from Stanford while you were at Cummins. Those sound like pretty heady times. How did that feel as you were going through that?
Heady is definitely an appropriate word. So I was on the high potential list. And so, companies like Cummins, Lilly, et cetera, have this literal list of people who are, the idea is that they're going to be the next generation of senior leaders. And so they rotated me about every 18 months. And so officially, I was assistant to the CFO, who was Tom Linebarger at the time. We all knew, though, that he was the anointed one. So we knew he was going to be chairman, CEO. Of course, he retired a few years ago. But the idea was to put us in different areas. And so my final job was director of corporate strategy. At the time, I was told that at 32, I was the youngest director of corporate strategy in the history of the company.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a fast track to the C-suite. To one of America's largest public companies. But that is not where you are right now. What happened?
Well, it was wonderful. Great salary and stock options and profit sharing, and I'm flying on the private jet, which is definitely a preferred way to travel. The only problem was I wasn't fulfilled. And so I'd literally had this debate with God for 4 or 5 years about, I was basically saying, I want this and I want this and I want this. And he says, here's more than you asked for. Are you happy now? And I said, no. He said, good. Leave and go do what I told you to do. So I graduated from business school in June of 01. January of 02, I was on a business trip in the UK. I woke up at dark 30, as they say in the military, and accepted the call to the ministry. And then a year later, I decided to go to the nonprofit sector. The problem was, because Cummins had paid for my MBA, I had a 5-year commitment. This is a year and a half later.
Right.
But because I was going to the nonprofit sector, they forgave the debt.
No kidding.
They forgave the debt. Yeah.
Now, when you say you accepted the call to the ministry, you make it sound like somebody called up from the front desk. I mean, there's more to it than that. I mean, how did that call come to you?
So literally, God woke me up out of my. It was a decision that I had really been wrestling with since I was 18. I was ordained as a deacon at 18 in my small little church in which I grew up, First Free Will Baptist Church over on near Riverside, and I knew by the age of 20 or 21 that I was called to the ministry. But as we often say in the ministry, I ran. I ran and ran and ran. But I was pretty fast, couldn't outrun God. And so eventually I literally woke up in the middle of the night and just accepted the call of the ministry. And so that was January of 02. And then in January of 03, I went to Tom and then to Tim Soso, who was the chairman at the time. And I said, I have to leave. There's a fire in the belly, and it wasn't going to be in corporate America. As wonderful a company as Cummins was, I knew that I was called to serve in the nonprofit sector.
So when you hear call to ministry, I mean, the first place my brain goes is, you want to go to, what's the word?
Seminary?
Yeah. the first place my brain goes is you want to go to the seminary, but you're hearing it a different way.
Right. And so for me, I should be clear. I did not audibly hear God's voice. But for me, it was this constant, sort of yearning in my spirit that I was meant to do. I tell people at 32, I literally thought about my epitaph. Here lies Larry Smith. He made a lot of money, but he didn't make a difference. And I wanted to make a difference. And for me, and you can do that. You can do that in corporate America. You can do that in any number of ways. For me, so I did consider the political route for a brief period. Then I regained my sanity. I thought about going into the ministry full time to be a pastor. And as I like to say, if Jesus loves me, he will not call me to be a pastor. A wonderful sort of vocation, but it can be all consuming. And most importantly, I was called to the ministry, but not necessarily to the pastorate. And so that left the nonprofit sector. So 11 years in corporate at Cummins, and then now 23 years in the nonprofit sector.
Okay. So we're going to kind of do this maybe like a lightning round, but take me through where you went.
So I started at Hudson Institute when it was located here in Indy. I was only there for 10 months, but I didn't leave Hudson. Hudson left me. They decided to move to D.C. I love to visit D.C. I have zero interest in living there. So then I went from there to what was then the Center on Philanthropy before it became the IU School of Philanthropy, the Lilly family school.
Yeah.
I was there for 5.5 years, learned so much at the feet of Gene Temple and Patrick Rooney and Dwight Burlingame. I think all of them are retired now at this point.
The position was director?
So director of the Third Millennium Philanthropy and Leadership Initiative.
Got it.
And and so I learned a great deal about the nonprofit sector writ large, and then the philanthropic aspect, both the asking and the giving side.
So it was the director of this particular
of this
program, not director of the entire school.
Oh, no. That was Gene Temple, who was the executive director, and then he became the founding dean of the school.
Okay.
And then from there, the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis, I was a senior VP there. And I left there and decided, I did have this gnawing sense that I wanted to work for myself. So for 8 or 9 years, off and on, mostly on, I was a consultant, primarily for the nonprofit sector, but also for small and medium sized businesses. I put together both my experience at Cummins and the MBA and what I learned at the School of Philanthropy, and I decided to be a consultant. And then one day, interestingly enough, I'm sitting at home minding my own business. I get a call about the Hamilton County Community Foundation from a gentleman named Eddie Rivers, a businessman, nonprofit leader, just one of the great leaders in our community. We had met way back at Cummins when I had my first management job, probably 97, 98. I was manager of global IT purchasing. Eddie owns, at the time owned this IT company. We had a meeting, and it must have gone pretty well. And I say must have because I have zero recollection of this meeting. But fortunately for me, Eddie remembered it. Unbeknownst to me, he had tracked my career all those years from like 97, 98 to 2021. And he said, hey, our director of development is leaving on maternity leave. We don't think she's coming back. I think you'd be great. And I'm like, wait, what? And so I went to go to the Hamilton County Community Foundation. I was only there a little bit more than a year. I had I started getting calls and text messages about this role at Fathers and Families Center. And, that was interesting because I wasn't looking. I was living, working, and worshiping in Fishers, Indiana. Was not looking to go anyplace else. But again, God had a different plan.
Okay, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. This is the IBJ Podcast.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
Building a home or looking to upgrade what you already have? That's where Indy Grills comes in. From fireplaces, outdoor kitchens, to entire custom patios, we bring everything together to create spaces designed for how you actually live. We work directly with homeowners and partner with custom home builders to get it right from the very start. Are you looking for inspiration? Our massive showroom on the Zionsville-Lebanon border was built to help you see what's possible. So when you're ready to elevate your space, head to indygrills.com and connect with our team.
All right, we're back with this week's episode of the IBJ podcast and my interview with Larry Smith about his journey to becoming president and CEO of Fathers and Family Center, and now trying to double its capacity. So it sounds like Fathers and Family Center was maybe the kind of not-for-profit organization you would have advised as
Absolutely.
a consulting client.
Yes, correct. And I was a longtime volunteer. Our founding president and CEO, Dr. Wallace McLaughlin, is a mentor of mine. I volunteered. I was on the strategic planning committee in 2011, 2012-ish. I did fatherhood panel, which is where we bring in blue-collar dads, white-collar dads, no-collar dads, and they talk about their journey both as a father and whatever career there. It could be a plumber, it could be a CEO. And then I did mock interviews where we sort of helped prepare the dads for the working world. And so very familiar with the organization, just never occurred to me that I'd be working there.
So I'm sorry, the name of the man that founded
Dr. Wallace McLaughlin.
Okay.
Everyone calls him Dr. Wallace. Brilliant gentleman. He's the founding president and CEO, originally from Georgia. Got his MDiv from Harvard and then his PhD from Purdue. Brilliant man. He is now a full-time pastor.
Oh, okay. There we go. So it sounds like that there was an inkling, though, that he was going to transition at some point.
Yes.
And that you could be a good candidate. Before we get too far, give us in a nutshell the mission of Fathers and Families.
Our mission is to equip fathers and empower families so that children thrive. So ultimately, we're trying to affect the lives of children. We do that by affecting the lives of fathers.
Mm-hmm. How old of an organization is it?
33 years. It was founded in 1993 as a program of what was then Wishart Hospital. And so Dr. Wallace, interestingly enough, Sarah Meadows was the director of social work at Wishart. Part of her job was to go to maternity ward. She goes to maternity room one day. Mom's there, doctor's there, medical staff is there, Sarah's there. The father is there. Nobody's paying attention to him. And so she thought, well, that's not good. So she goes back to Wishart and literally starts the Father Resource Program. Hires at the time a young PhD student. Again, this is 1993, Wallace McLaughlin. Fast forward a few years, he becomes the president and CEO. She leaves her job at Wishart to work for him.
Okay. So would you have been a good candidate for this when you were younger?
That is a great question. Probably not. As I tell the men we serve, I really probably should have been in the class, right? And I ended up leading the organization, as a father at 16. So I grew up on the east side of Indianapolis, 34th and Emerson. Parents were divorced when I was very young, 4 or 5. My father was not involved in my life. And I became a dad at, just shy of 17. I understand very well that my life could be very, very different than it is today. But by the grace of God, I was always a good student. And so that, being a first-generation college student, that changed the whole trajectory of my life.
So you become president and CEO in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
When you compare Fathers and Families to the places where you have worked toward the beginning of your career, it's fairly small.
It is.
The conventional way that, 98% of the people who sit in that chair do it is you sort of start smallish.
Right.
And then you graduate to larger companies and or positions of greater authority or greater responsibility. Why have you not taken the conventional path?
I've always, I've never been a 5-year person, but I've always had a 5-year plan person, but I've always had this kind of vague sense of what I wanted to do. But as I say, I have a plan. God always has a better plan. I was content not being a CEO. I never had quite the fire in the belly for that. I don't want to be cliche, but I just always wanted to serve. I wanted to be where I was supposed to be, doing what I was supposed to be doing. That did not necessarily mean being the head of an organization. When it came open, when I finally decided that I was going to apply, the second that I was selected, I just kind of had a sense that this is where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I mean, now that you you've gotten into it. You've been in it for several years now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're in the right place?
I do. It's funny. So we're best known for our Strong Fathers program. It's 3 weeks long, 90 hours of classroom instruction. Everything that we do is evidence-based. I give the gentlemen about 3 or 4 days before I go down to meet them so they can kind of get acclimated and so on. So I meet them and I kind of go through the story that I just went to of my life and all that. And then I have a Q&A. And inevitably, typically more than once, someone will say, now, wait a minute, you left corporate America? You knew that? Because I tell them I literally knew that I was walking away from becoming a multimillionaire had I stayed in the private sector. And they're looking at me like, wow, you're not very bright, are you? But I tell them, my story. I can make a lot of money, but I wanted to make a difference. And I'm fine. I'm not making 7 or 8 or 9 figures, but I do okay. But at the end of the day, for me, it's about being in the place where you're called to be.
So using your talent for strategic thinking,
Mm-hmm.
once you became president and CEO, what did you begin to find? Where were the areas that you thought, we can do better? We can add something.
So with our sort of front door program, the Strong Fathers that I referenced, we had about 7 or so men in Indy. We have 1 cohort per month. So in any given cohort, we had about 7 or 8 men. I thought, well, that's not going to work. And so today we have roughly around 30 in each.
Niche.
cohort.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we tripled it at least.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so so my mindset is growth. This is back to my my athletic days. I'm super competitive, as my kids will tell you. And so there's a saying when I was running track, which is second place is just the first loser, right? So I just wanted to serve as many men as we possibly could. Now, in the last 33 years, we've served about 27,000 fathers. Last year was the year in which we served the most men of any given year. We served about 1,200 men total between all the classes that we have and then our alumni. We served about 1,200 men.
So you mentioned the Strong Fathers program. I know there's more to it than that, though. I mean, there are more. If I think about it in terms of being an octopus, there's several other
Right.
arms that you could take.
Yes.
I mean, have you added services for your clients?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Since you took over.
Yeah, we've added several. So one is our evening class. And so Strong Fathers is 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday for 3 weeks. But a lot of fathers came to us and said, look, I'd love to take your class, but I work during the day. We said, great, we'll start an evening class. So we did that. Another program is called Out and Up. That's where we go to penal institutions. We work with men who are fewer than 90 days from being released. We help them to reintegrate back into society, the workforce, and most importantly, their families. We added healthy couples. We survey our clients very, very frequently. And one of the things that they said is, look, you really helped me to become a better father, but I can't get along with my wife or girlfriend, which is understandable. So we started Healthy Fathers. And then just yesterday, we started another program called the Professional Partners Program. And one of the things I say to our team is, for us, the bad news is the same as the good news, which is our services are necessary for all fathers, irrespective of class, race, age, married, divorced. And so what I realized is that, you might be a father who is doing very well socioeconomically, an executive at Salesforce or IU Health or Cummins or Lilly, and you still, for example, can't get along with your teenage daughter. And so these are gentlemen who absolutely do not have 3 weeks to sit in class. And so we created 5 modules we call the Professional Partners Program, where we will we'll either go to physically or we'll do it virtually and focus on a topic. So just yesterday, we worked with CNO Financial in our inaugural kickoff for that. And this one was around dealing with mental and emotional stress and how to ameliorate that.
So do I take it from the name? This is for professionals.
Yes.
Who need this kind of help.
Correct.
Right. And then so you go to them.
We go to them. And that's as distinguished from our primary client base. And so just very briefly, we start at 16. So any dad 16 and up. The average age of the men we serve is around 34, 35, although, you can be a 100-year-old dad. It doesn't matter. We say father, but that doesn't. I always tell people I'm not Maury Povich, right? So if you come to us and say you're the dad, you're the dad. So we know that there are grandfathers, uncles, big brothers, foster dads. You come to us and say I'm in this fatherhood role. You can be in the class
if you serve as
a father.
Right.
You can be in the class. And for those men, their average income is $11,600 annually. So we don't charge them. In fact, not only do we not charge them, we pay them to come, a stipend of $100 a week, up to $100 if you're there every day and you show up on time. We'll give you $100 just for showing up. The dads in the professional partners program, however, again, they could either pay individually, or ultimately what we would like to do is to become a part of the company's employee assistance program, or EAP, as another benefit to them.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like for the vast majority of the clients, this is free.
Yes.
This is free help.
Correct.
So how do you pay for providing these services? Where does your money come from?
Grants. We are about primarily, we're about 90, depending on any given year, anywhere between 85 and 90% dependent on grants. So we have some wonderful supporters, Lilly Endowment, Lilly Corporate Foundation, IU Health, United Way of Central Indiana, Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust, the Clues Fund. So that's how we primarily raise our money. I just hired, though, Mike Thompson about a year and a half ago. Historically, we have not identified or cultivated or solicited individual donors in any sort of scale. And so Mike, who I met when I was at IUPUI, he was working for the Kelly School. He was a development officer for the Kelly School. And so I hired him about a year and a half ago. His role specifically is to solicit individual donors. And so we have a 4-pronged revenue strategy quickly. One, grants, and I'll put corporate sort of sponsorships in that bucket. Secondly, individuals. Thirdly, earned income. And fourth, asset appreciation. So our investments.
Oh, okay. So what would earned income be?
So earned income, there are 2 very quick examples. One, the building in which we're located initially was WIBC. So there is a radio tower that we literally just sold, right? And the tower, to give you an idea of scale, is worth as much as the building is, right?
Yeah.
So we sold it for around $750,000. Also, our intellectual property. And so everything that we do is not only sort of evidence-based, but we own the IP. And so Professional Partners Program, right now, get in while you can. It's free, so we can build up our client base. But eventually, we will sell that.
Got it.
So just looking for ideas on which we can capitalize our intellectual property.
Okay. So when you became president and CEO, how many staff members did you have?
We have 13.
13. How many do you have now?
We have 22 now.
Okay. So you've added quite a bit.
Absolutely.
To help take care of, these arms, these extra programs that you've started.
Correct.
Extra is probably not a very
additional programs.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've hired people to help manage these other services you now provide. Got it. Usually when somebody takes over from a founding leader, you get some resistance internally from people who are they're used to doing things a certain way.
Correct.
And then, this happens to us too. Where we go, well, this is the way that we do it, and it's been fine.
Right.
Did you experience that, or how did you successfully avoid that?
Well, I'm so charismatic that it was no. No, it was an interesting transition because, again, Dr. Wallace had been there for 29 of our 33 years. And so, people had to get accustomed to me. And so, in fact, my very first staff meeting, all staff meeting, what I said is this: I am not here to be disruptive. You don't have to impress me. Just do your job. That's literally it. Just do the job that you were doing, and we'll go from there. Now, we've obviously, all organizations have staff turnover, but primarily people have left for another opportunity. And that's what in fact, I always tell people, because of my background at Cummins, I've always understood that, you're not held captive here. There are other opportunities. So I want to prepare them to do well, either in their current role, whether it's, and in a future role, whether it's going to be at Fathers and Families or at another organization. And in fact, if I'm not doing that, I think I'm failing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you said it was 1,200 fathers.
Yes, correct.
That you helped. Was that just the guys who went through the Strong Fathers program? Or that's total?
That's total. And in fact, the majority are actually alumni. So what happens is we have what we call barrier assistance. It's another program we have. So once you've graduated, whether it's 6 months ago or 6 years ago or 16 years ago, you can come back once a year for what we call barrier assistance. And typically that's, I'm behind on my car note or rent or utilities, and we'll give you up to around $500 or so just to kind of get caught up. And so that's part of what we ask for in our grant applications, money for barrier assistance. It's just to kind of, you're not going to get rich. It's really basically to help them get caught up on one bill or another.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many guys would that have been last year?
That's probably around 600.
Okay. So about half are alumni.
Yes.
And half are going through your programs for the first time.
Correct.
Continuing to go through for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So last month,
mm-hmm.
Fathers and Family Center announced a $5.5 million fundraising campaign with a goal of doubling the number of people that it serves.
Yes.
So you would want to get to about 2,400.
Yes.
Guys, alumni and new clients.
Students in the class. Clients in the class.
Okay. Is this one of these campaigns where you announce you have a fundraising campaign, but you have most of the money secured already?
Yeah. So we announced it on June 3rd. And so of the $5.5 million, which was developed, by the way, we had a feasibility study that a wonderful company called Cape Fletcher helped us to develop. And they said we could raise, somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million to $6 million. So we kind of split the difference and did $5.5 million. And we're currently at around $4 billion. Typically the way it works in the nonprofit sector is, you don't want to announce a $5.5 million campaign when you're at $0. So we raised that. The bulk of it so far has come from Lilly Corporate Foundation. We got a $3 million gift from Lilly Corporate Foundation. Transformative for us.
Yeah, I don't mean to imply that there's anything funny going on. Everybody does this.
Everybody does it.
Everybody says, "Hey, we've got a fundraising campaign," and really, we just need this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, in a way, I've always kind of wondered about that. In a way, it's like, hey, we already have this vote of confidence from the philanthropic community. Look how much we've already raised.
Absolutely.
We just need a little bit more help.
Just a little bit more. Yeah. And so we're certainly very diligently pursuing additional grants, and then from individuals as well. Just this morning, Mike Thompson, our director of development, and I met with a husband-wife team who have a DAF, a donor advised fund, and they also have a foundation. So I'm not at liberty to say their names at this point, but they did pledge $20,000 towards the campaign.
Okay. So what will this $5.5 million allow you to do?
So a few things. One is to move to another building. So it's technically not a capital campaign, because capital campaign means that you're either buying a building or building a building. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're moving literally one block up to a place. We're at 2835 North Illinois, immediately adjacent to IB Tech Indianapolis. We're going to move one block north to Brower Plaza, which is kind of this nonprofit incubator. They have INHP and Teach for America and Crystal House already there. It's a huge building that is just south of the Children's.
Oh, right. I know what it is.
Yep.
Sure.
And
Did
so
United Way used to be there, or is
no, they're kind of
cat
a corner, to Brower Plaza.
Okay.
And so we're going to move there in about a month. And I say about a month because we're actually going through a build out now. And of course, tariffs and supply chain challenges. And so the goal is to be in there by August. We'll see. So we got a $500,000 grant from United Way through their fund, one of their mini funds. So we could apply that toward the move. So it's a major gift campaign, not a capital campaign. So it'll allow us to have them. We signed a 10-year lease. So there's that, and then increasing our programs and then expanding staff. Those are the three main.
So where do you think the staff will end up?
When you say,
I'm sorry, that's confusing because you're changing places too. How many staff members do you foresee? Needing?
Okay. I'm sorry. In the near term, the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to need probably at least 5 more staff members. It's tough because most of what we do is sort of staff intensive. We don't buy widgets, right? So if we're going to expand programs and expand services, that will mean more staff.
Mm-hmm. Does the space also give you more space, as it were?
Absolutely. So even though we'll be inside another building, we'll have more space than we do now. Not only that, but it's, I always remind people that it's fathers and families. Our current space that we've been in for a quarter century as of this year is not family friendly. So we can do, trunk or treat on Halloween, but we can't really have family activities. And so this new space will allow us to have is family friendly space.
When I heard, okay, you're going to try to double the amount of men that you help, I'm thinking, well, does that mean that you have to double the amount of revenue that you get, or
so there's not a one-to-one relationship, but we will have to continue to raise more dollars. Yeah.
So really the focus is on development.
It's on development. So just to go through Strong Fathers class usually costs us about $3,000 to $4,000 per dad. And then so after graduation from Strong Fathers, there are three options. One is to apply for a job with one of our employer partners. We have about 50 employer partners. Another option is to go through certification or stackable credentials. And so that's all the skilled trades, forklift driving, CDL. We have a construction training center at Eastern Star Church on 30th Street. We spend about $250,000 a year because, again, we don't charge them in. So we spend about $250,000 a year to send them through that. I'd love to double that. I'd love to be able to spend, $500,000. But most of the men opt for number one because they need money now. So they're going to make $18 to $22, $23 an hour doing that. They could more than double that if they went kind of the skilled trade route. But because you think about it, they started around $11,600. So even if you go from that to $38,000, you're making substantially more than you were before, and you don't have to wait to be an apprentice or whatever. Or thirdly, if they want to be an entrepreneur, we say, look, bring us a serious business plan. We vet it. If we approve it, we will pay their fees to the Secretary of State. We'll give them a new laptop. And then Corey Parchman, who is our VP of Programs and Partnerships, will become their entrepreneur coach. Corey is a Ball State grad, played in the NFL for about 5.5 years, understood that NFL really means not for long, right? So Corey was very, very good with his money, became a serial entrepreneur, and he becomes an entrepreneur coach for anyone who wants to start their own business.
So what is your budget right now?
It's about $4.5 million.
Okay.
So it's about $2 million when I got there. It's about $4.5 million now.
$4.5 million now. Okay. And then say 5 years from now, what do you think?
Wow. It should be approaching $10 million.
Wow. So really, we are talking about doubling.
Yeah. Because again, we want to expand certainly numerically in terms of the number of men we serve, but also geographically. Again, our men everywhere, whatever their condition, dads, need some version of our services. And that's just not just in Indiana. That's, regionally and ultimately nationally. That's the goal.
Wow. I mean, so you really do have high hopes for being able to raise these extra funds.
Absolutely.
I mean, do you think there's a higher ceiling for the people that currently give you money?
Depending on the funders, because, I'll take money from anybody. So, Lilly Endowment obviously has a few dollars to spend. But at the same time, I never take that for granted, right? I mean, just because they have been with us since the beginning doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be with us always. And so I never take that for granted. We are grateful. I believe that we are good stewards, because if we weren't, we'd stop getting those. We would have already stopped getting those dollars. But I also don't take it for granted.
Mm-hmm. So you sit in on some of these classes.
Mm-hmm.
What is that experience like for you now as a father with a 39-year-old daughter? Is that correct?
Yep, 39. And then I have a 21-year-old. And then he hates me to say this, but the baby, he is 18 years old. He'll be actually 19 next week.
Okay. So do you sometimes go through the program or sit in the program and go, oh man, I never thought about it that way. Or, maybe I can use this.
Absolutely. So one of the great things is, again, is our range of ages. So 16 and up. And so it's very interesting dynamic to see, let's say, an 18-year-old father interact with a 38, 39-year-old father, or a 58, 59-year-old father, perhaps grandfather. And there's a lot of sort of organic instruction on both sides. It's not just the older ones teaching the younger ones. It's vice versa. And by the way, I should emphasize that it is all voluntary, right? So I'll back up. In any given cohort, somewhere between 50 and 70% of the men are formally incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we're proudest of is that our recidivism rate, the 3-year average is 6.7%. to put that in context, the recidivism means the rate at which you go back to jail or prison. The recidivism rate for Marion County overall is 45 to 50%, depending on whose numbers you believe. So everyone says, get them a job, get them a job. Well, okay, that's necessary, but it's not sufficient unless you address the challenges that they have been through: the physical abuse, sexual abuse, substance abuse, PTSD. They're going to end up back where they were, and so everything that they need, we provide for them directly, or we partner with other organizations. And so mental and emotional health, for example, I don't have any therapists. I don't have any social workers on staff. So we'll partner with Eskenazi Health or Jane Pauley or Hamilton Center as an example. And then we do case management. We follow up with the gentleman to make sure that they're going to their appointments, right? So if you do all of that and you give them opportunities to spend more time with their children. So, for example, the Children's Museum is one of our great partners. They have opportunities to go to the Children's Museum and spending that time and then changing their circle. You do all of that. Well, the gentlemen are not going back to prison if you do that. And the other, and even of those who do, most of them are, and this sort of a technical term, but they don't commit another crime. They're violated. I'll give you a very specific example, which unfortunately happens. So let's say I have an ankle monitor. I can go to Fathers and Family Center. I can go to work, and I can go home. Well, I also may be my elderly parents' caregiver. So I'll go to the store for them. That's not on the approved list, and so technically that's a violation. Right. So depending on the parole officer, they could be violated and go back, even though he or she knows that, they're not, engaged in some nefarious activity. Some people would say, okay, well, you that's a technical violation, so we're going to have you go back. And so that's what happens, generally speaking. Generally, they're not committing more crimes.
Okay. Got it. So it's full speed ahead on the move. So you've got what you need to make the move.
Correct.
To build out the space. But still, the gifts campaign continues. Okay, great. Well, we need to have you back. How long do you think? About a year?
Sure. Anytime. I love talking about Fathers and Families Center. Even if I weren't in this role, I would tell, when I wasn't in this role, before I became president and CEO, I would tell people about Fathers and Family Center. And by the way, that's how most people hear about us. It's word of mouth, typically from an alum, who's gone through the program again 1 year ago, 10 years ago. They learn about us. Now we advertise on, TV and radio. We've advertised in the IBJ. But most of the men hear about us via word of mouth. And I want to emphasize the role of women. So mothers, sisters, wives or girlfriends, they will tell their son, their brother, their husband, you get yourself down there to Fathers and Family Center because they can help you become a better dad.
All right. Great. Well, great. Well, let's continue the conversation then. Thanks so much for coming down.
Good to be here.
My thanks again to Larry Smith. And folks, before you get on with the rest of your week, there are several stories in this week's issue of IBJ I want to draw to your attention. First up, Swiss pharmaceuticals giant Roche continues an expansion project at its Indianapolis-based diagnostics unit as it awaits U.S. regulatory approval for a new diabetes treatment. Daniel Bradley has the latest on the $550 million investment. Also in this week's issue, Susan Orr reports that local nonprofits and wealth managers are seeing a growing interest in charitable gifts that are distributed from an estate after a donor's death. And Dave Lindquist explains how two local teenagers are building careers in the music business. And again, you can find these stories in the latest print edition of IBJ or online at ibj.com. And I will say it is quite a bit easier to access all the latest business news and all of IBJ's data on Central Indiana's business community and economy if you're a subscriber. And we're running a promotion right now that gives you complete access for $1 per week for 3 months, just to get a sense of how valuable and original our content is. Just go to ibj.com and click on the subscribe button. And thanks again for making time this week for the IBJ podcast. I'm Mason King. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be back again next week.
Indiana's biggest names, their most personal stories. The Business and Beyond podcast brings you one-on-one conversations with the state's top leaders in business, sports, politics, and culture. If you want to know what makes Indiana tick, this is your show. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcasts.com.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.